Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade tabletop role-playing rules by World of Darkness. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast is intended for a mature audience and will include strong language and mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and so forth, that may bear resemblance to entities living, dead, or undead is strictly coincidental. My name is Rena Henze, and for tonight's game, I will be your storyteller. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very first full cast episode of Season 2 of our Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle for the Old Ways podcast. This season, as the blood moon has already risen and set, we will be referring to the Shards of San Francisco, as this season we will be getting into the political intrigue and all the bits and pieces that were left of vampire hierarchy and San Francisco itself after the events of the Blood Moon. I'd like to thank all of our backers, especially our Patreon backers who chose Vampire the Masquerade last year to be our third campaign on the Old Ways podcast, to all of you who have supported us with your words, with your memes, and with your money. We hope you will enjoy this upcoming second season as we have a new addition to our main cast. And so, without further ado, let's have, again, some introductions. So, to my right.
This is Mike, and I play Marcus Voss of Clan Bruja.
And we have missed that voice. Thank you, Mike. And to Mike's right.
Hi, this is John, and I'll be playing Vince Markovich, soy boy vampire of Clan Tremere.
And next to John, we have...
Hi, my name is Tegan, and I'm playing Rom the Shaman of Clan Malkavian.
Thank you, Rom. Next to Rom, we have...
Hi, this is Ali, and I play Katerina Bogdanovich of Clan Toreador.
Our favorite baker. And in Season 1, this is where we'd go to last but not least, but we do have a new member of our coterie. Hopefully you've listened to her introduction episode already, but if you haven't, we have...
Hello. My name is Bridget, and I will be playing Monica West of Clan Salubri.
And now, last but not least, we have...
This is Tiffany, and I'm playing Alex Giovanni of Clan Hakata.
Wonderful. We have our coterie who all somehow managed to survive Season 1. Somehow. I'm not looking at anyone in particular right now. So, let us begin. It is February. Friday the 3rd, to be specific, 2023. It is a couple months since the events of Season 1, and just over a month since all of the interludes that occurred with our coterie members as they figured out how to survive, and perhaps for some of them thrive in this new San Francisco. Prince Velasquez is gone. They disappeared. No one, well, almost no one, seems to know where they are, but the knowledge is there is now a power vacuum. One William Mallet, also known as Billy the Hammer, has stepped in temporarily, referring to himself as the caretaker, looking after the city and the various Camarilla elements. But that's not really much of our concern anymore, as we focus our attention on the Port District of San Francisco and the, well, some have been calling it a barony, of one Marcus Voss of Clan Bruja. So this evening, Marcus, it's cold, it's rainy, it's San Francisco in February, especially at night, and it is time you awoke and got about your business in your new haven. You no longer reside at the Union office in an attempt to protect not only yourself, but also your humans who work there. And so as you awake around 7 p.m., let's have that rouse check, shall we?
Absolutely.
And the rest of you can go ahead and give me your rouse checks as well.
That's a 10.
That is an auspicious start to our second season.
It's a 9 for Vince.
Vince is surviving.
Starting off strong with a whole 1.
So Katerina is feeling a little bit peckish as she wakes up this evening.
I got a success.
Okay, Rom is fine.
I rolled a 1.
So Alex is feeling cranky this evening.
So Monica got a 6.
Monica, outside the territory of Marcus Voss, is doing quite fine this evening. So, Marcus, you wake up and you're feeling great. It is going to be a good evening. You have some work to attend to, a La Sombra house to visit at some point, but you also have a meeting on the cards this evening. You had a very interesting meeting with one of the 2 salubri in town just about 3 weeks ago. And this very well put together gentleman by the name of Chase Oros made a bargain with you. And as part of that bargain, you have requested a meeting with his child, who goes by the name of Monica. And she will be visiting you at your haven this evening, and we'll see how that goes at some point. But first, you have other work to attend to.
I do.
What is Baron Voss? Not that he calls himself that, but what is he up to at the start of this fine, cold, blustery evening?
Well, it seems to me that it would be good to meet with a local representative of one of the trades unions. Now, Marcus has a long history with the unions in San Francisco, but specifically tonight, he's looking at Local 38. And that would be San Francisco's unions that cover the plumbers and pipe fitters.
Are you meeting with them down at the labor office, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not bringing them to the Haven.
I would assume not. They are but mere mortals after all. So, do you meet with Katerina this evening, just down the hall?
I probably look in on her just to make certain that she's got what she needs, and let her know that I would be back a little later for more business, but that I have a meeting at the Union Hall first.
So, Katerina, you're feeling a little hungry, a little cranky as you wake up this evening, and Marcus pokes his head in just to say he's got some work to attend to and he'll be back later. Do you have plans for the evening?
Well, I'm sure that I am probably needing to meet with somebody about something regarding the new farm. I know that there's a certain amount of stuff that I have to meet with Vince about, but I'm sure that right now we're doing a kind of layout for how big of a area that we're wanting to cover. I've been given a fairly extensive area, I'm sure, but I want to make sure that all of the things that I remember from the last farm that was being run, there's something similar space-wise, so I can get a rough idea of how many people we're going to be able to house at a time, etc., etc.
So you say good evening to Marcus as he pokes his head in, and you get ready to go about your evening as well. So Marcus, you head out. The bodyguards, so to speak, who keep watch on your haven doors, ask you if you will need them to accompany you this evening, or if you would prefer them to stay put.
Stay put for now.
You got it, boss? And they smile. And you head off to your former haunt, so to speak, at the labor union office. It's quiet tonight, for once. There's no signs of the horrible events that happened here. The blood in the parking lot, all of that's gone now at this point, and it's been fairly quiet. Everyone's left your people alone for the moment. And you can head in. You see Polly in the back kitchen making herself a cup of coffee, and Gloria is at her usual spot at the desk, and she's looking very radiant tonight. She's done full makeup. She's got a very kind of 70s suit on. She looks like she's packing up for the evening. Friday nights are usually when she gets off early, but she looks up as you come in and she smiles at you and says, "Good evening, Marcus. How's it going?"
Good. How are things here at the office?
It's been pretty quiet. Haven't had anything major happening for once. February's kind of a weird month. Everyone seems to be feeling kind of meh.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Not expecting too much trouble this weekend, really. We're settling out of court on some of our cases. She hands you a couple folders. So in Riley versus the state of California, they're going to be getting their jobs back. And we did settle out of court on the union case when it comes to, she names a certain large corporation with a lot of warehouses. So they will also be getting their back pay. And we're not going to have to waste any more time and energy on getting them to see sense.
Good.
So improvements all around. Nothing new, really.
Vigilance is what keeps us strong. I wouldn't doubt they'd try it again.
Oh, I mean, it's the third time, at least in the last year. I don't know. I guess I should look through Marie's cases from before, but haven't had time to get through all of that paperwork yet. Have you considered digitizing?
Sure. Considered? Sure. I think that there is still some value to written records. I realize that it takes things a little bit longer to research through, but it's not as easy these days to fake a written record.
Yeah, that's fair. Just, it'll take me longer to go back through the backlog of everything. She was a very meticulous note keeper.
Yeah, I actively try not to wince when she mentions Marie.
All right. Well, I was going to head out unless you needed something.
No. Enjoy your evening. I have a very short meeting with just a couple people from another local here.
No problem. Coffee's set up, and because I got your note, and there's refreshments for your guests if you need them. And Polly will be on call if you need her. She'll be in for the late shift this evening. So, yeah, I'm going to go dancing. She smiles at you.
Well, have a great evening. Stay safe.
Am I ever anything but? She laughs and shakes her hair and grabs her bag to head out the door.
I probably just for a moment muse about how fleeting humanity is. It's very interesting that they shake off any sort of trouble relatively easily. But that's why we love them. That and the blood.
That and the blood, yes. The fact that they're tasty helps as well.
Well, some of them are tasty.
That's true. So you can get set up for your meeting. They'll be arriving in about 20 minutes, so you have time to do review and whatever else you need for what you're going to discuss with them.
Yeah. I set down some of the layout plans that I have and just cover them, whatnot, so that way they can be prepared when the time is right.
Excellent. So as you are setting things up, let's have a look in on how Alex is doing outside the territory. Alex has chosen to remain neutral, quote unquote, and to make it seem, at least to outsiders, that they have no interest in what is happening in the barony outside of their own information gathering, needs, let's say. So what is Alex up to on this cold, blustery February evening?
I'm probably at Elysium.
Yes, you did rather promise Sebastian you'd be putting in more of an appearance.
Right. So I would make sure, though, that Sebastian makes sure that I have my own table in a corner with my back to a wall. Yeah, so basically, I have my own, mobster's table, as you would see a la cheesy TV in an Italian restaurant kind of deal. Because I probably don't want to talk to most of the people there, and the people that do want to talk to me will then for a specific reason. So,
Yes, you're set up at your own corner table, looking very well put together, perfectly dressed and coiffed as usual. Probably the best dressed person in the room at the moment. And it's starting to pick up again at Elysium. It got really busy the night Marcus declared independence, as everyone was buzzing and talking and trying to figure out what was going on. But then you noticed, and Sebastian mentioned to you, attendance had kind of fallen off for a few weeks as everyone tried to sort out what was happening and who is it safe to be around, who am I politically allowed to be seen with. And also, there's still some of that tainted blood running in San Francisco. Nowhere near as much, and you know there won't be more made, but there's still some. And some of the regulars have not come back. But it's starting to pick up again a little bit. There's a K-pop band performing this evening, which is not really Alex's style. It's probably not the best night for you to have chosen to come, but the crowd of mostly younger vampires, your millennials and your Gen Zs, are really getting into it, the ones who are here. And as you're just sort of trying not to roll your eyes and plug your ears and look away, as that would be very impolite, there is a polite
I will look in that direction.
So you look up, and standing at a respectful distance so that you know you are not in any physical danger and no one is coming to attempt to murder you at this moment, you see a young man. He's wearing a very neat, dark suit. He's got red hair, and he looks young. Like that's the feeling you get. Not young as in human terms, although he's obviously just in his early 30s. He's a young vampire. But he's standing there very politely, with his hands clasped in front of him. Mix Giovanni?
Yes.
My name is Robin. I'm from Clan Ventru. May I have a seat?
Sure. Make yourself comfortable.
He smiles slightly and takes a chair next to you, and he sits very, very straight. It's like he's still learning how to hold himself and how to compose himself around people. He's very rigid. And he looks also, to your experienced eyes, a bit unsure of himself around you. And he says, my sire has sent me with a message.
Who's your sire and what's your message?
Mr. Mallet.
And his message?
His message is that he is aware through some back channels that you and and he wrinkles his nose in disgust, Baron of the port of San Francisco have had some sort of a falling out, and he would like to make an arrangement with you.
Oh, so he wants to have a meeting, or he sent you with the arrangement offer?
He shifts in his seat a little bit. He's obviously been told what to do, but to your eyes, he's very uncomfortable in this situation. He also seems to keep getting distracted by the few ghouls who are wandering around, just like you see his nostrils flare slightly. Perhaps he hasn't completely learned how to control himself. But he shakes his head and turns back, says, a meeting will not be necessary at this moment. It's almost like he's reading off a cue card to you. Mr. Mallet is, of course, very busy with attending the Primogen Council and setting up the exchange of power for whoever the new prince will be. But he would like, if you are amenable, to... He swallows. He would like to obtain some information. And what he suggests is that you... And he sighs. It's like, make amends with the Baron, but what was the word? Not really. A double cross, I think, is the correct.
you can tell him that I am aware of his insult by sending someone as young and stupid as you. And second, he can speak to me or send me somebody more competent and we can work this out.
The young man, Robin, just looks very surprised. Ventrue tend to have a lot of composure, but this one is still obviously fairly new to it, and so he just kind of shakes his head slightly. Very well. He does not know how to respond to this. I will relay your message, and I suppose we will be in touch.
Hopefully not us, but yes, I will speak with him when he needs.
If vampires could blanch, he would. He just stands up, rebuttons his coat, and regains a little bit of his posture and says, "Thank you for your time. I am sure Mr. Mallet will send someone very shortly."
And as he walks away, I want to pat him on the butt and be like, "Run along to daddy now."
Oh, okay. So I'm going to make a roll for him. Okay. So he doesn't quite know what the etiquette is in this situation. He turns around and you can see his eyes glint slightly, but then he seems to remember where he is, and he seems to at least know that Elysium is not a place for starting fights. But he says, "I will not forget." And then he walks out the door.
Fucking Ventrue. God damn it.
Fucking Ventrue indeed. So as Alex returns to the soulful sounds of the K-pop band filtering through the air, let's have a check-in with Rom on his party boat.
Absolutely fantastic. So Rom is with Casper, one of my ghouls, and we are currently going over the various plans for our big Valentine's Day bash and orgy. Particularly, I want to talk to Casper right now about, we were planning on having a cover band show up, and what I've got scheduled so far, Casper, I need you to talk to them. They're on, did you know MySpace was still a thing? But no, they're called Abattoir. They do metal covers of ABBA songs. They're absolutely fantastic. Is there any way that we could get them in time?
Casper's hurriedly taking notes. He's a very fast note taker. That's one of the reasons you brought him aboard, so to speak. He's very, very good at taking notes and doing other things at the same time.
Oh, very good. Oh, I love that. I love that for him.
So he looks at his phone and does a quick Google and says, "Well, I've got their contact information. MySpace, though, really?"
Apparently, they're just using it for bands now.
All right. He just sort of shakes his head in his okay grandpa kind of way, even though you don't really look that much older than him. I think we can get them if we pay, especially if we pay them well enough. I mean, money can make a lot of things smoother. So, how much are we offering?
For an appearance fee? Oh my god. How much can one band be worth? See if they'll take $7,000, but I'm willing to go up to double that.
Casper just kind of sighs, says, "All right."
And if you get this done, I guarantee you'll be in my top 8.
Okay.
That's a MySpace joke.
Oh, I was hoping you were making a dirty joke there, Master Rom, but okay. He looks like he does not understand the actual top 8 joke. He looks too young for MySpace. But he scribbles down a few notes and stands up, and he bows slightly, as all of your ghouls do. He's wearing this kind of striped tank top and navy sailor-style bell-bottoms, as most of your crew are at this point. They've taken to calling themselves your crew, not your tribe, at this point, since they're all living on a boat. And he says, "Well, I'll let you know. I'm sure it won't take too long. We did leave it a little bit late. Perhaps next time we do an event, we might want to talk to people earlier. But sure, I got it."
Well, I wasn't able to get Nearly Dan, so we're going to have to stick with Abattoir. Nearly Dan is, of course, a Steely Dan cover band.
He says, what is a Steely Dan, Master Rom? I'll Google them.
Yeah, you need to go away right now.
He just scratches his head a little bit, the poor child. And by child, I mean he's 21. And just, okay. And he's looking at his phone. He's got his notebook under one hand and he's Googling, you assume, Steely Dan with the other hand as he leaves your quarters.
Oh, gosh. Other than that, I'm checking on my private blood supply that I have now on this boat. There are so many people now living on this boat.
It is a pretty big tribe, or crew rather, but you do need a lot of them for all the stuff that you do.
We do, I know. We provide essential services in this town to very exclusive, and we're a very exclusive and private vendor for the local vampire, I guess, fuck scene, thanks to Alex.
So you go check on your ghouls. You also check out the exclusive party rooms that you've had set up for the Temple of Michael on your boat, the Spear of Michael. Yes. And you've had some fun things installed recently that you think that initiates at the temple might appreciate.
Is everything going swimmingly?
It's going pretty well. You see Eric working out downstairs in the gym. That's where he spends a lot of his time. You manage to mind wipe him and Preethi fairly well using your skills and some help from other Malkavians, but they still have the occasional bad dream. And sometimes you'll just catch Eric or Preethi just sort of standing there looking off into the distance with this sort of 1,000-yard stare, like they're remembering something, but they can't quite remember what it is they're remembering. And whenever that happens, you can find Eric in the gym.
Yeah. No, that troubles me greatly. It doesn't do me much good to go to the gym. But I definitely from time to time will be checking in on them, making sure that they have everything they need. Preethi's been a long time project of mine ever since, she came to me with her heavy acid scarring. I'm definitely concerned about their well-being.
Preethi seems really well recently, ever since you were inducted into the Temple of Michael. You've put a lot of extra work into helping repair her facial scars. And so you've spent a lot of time working one-on-one with Preethi, and she seems to have appreciated it. Well, we'll leave Rom for the moment wandering around his boat and checking in on his party arrangements. Valentine's is only less than 2 weeks off, but you've got so much work to do and you're going to have so many people on this boat, and you're probably going to have to talk to somebody about getting some kind of permit so that you don't get the cops called on you for noise violations, even out here on the boat.
Oh no, we're doing it Booze Cruise style. We're getting them loaded up, and then we are heading out.
You're heading out.
Yes.
Make sure you stay out of shark gangrel territory.
How wide does that go?
You don't know.
Oh. Well, then we'll just go a little bit farther than I'm guessing.
You do know that the one particular shark who attacked you is no longer with us. In fact, Marcus gave you a bag of teeth.
Oh, surprised to be sure, but a welcome one.
Yes. But who knows how many other shark gangrel are out there in the bay?
Maybe we can set them up with some sort of subscription package or like a coupon to the orgy.
Orgy coupons, that's a novelty. So we'll leave Rom thinking about his novelty coupons for orgies. And let's have a look in on one Vincent Markovich. You and Mina are set up in an apartment now in Marcus's territory. And Mina was a bit morose for the first month and a half. She misses her bungalow. She misses all of the crooks and crannies and everything that she knew. And she very much resents the fact that she had to leave because, as she scrawled out on your wall in blood one night, you were an idiot. But she's calmed down a bit, seems to have gotten more used to it, although you do hear the faucets turning on and off in the middle of the night. Occasionally you'll wake up in the morning to have phantom spiders crawling up and down you. You know, the usual.
Yeah, she just needs to get it out of her system. Ultimately, change is good, and, Mina could do with a change of scene. You can only haunt one house for so long, and I think a century is long enough. So, it'd be good for her. And maybe she can move in, she can, expand out some of the other apartments. We'll see. I don't know if ghosts recognize, tenancy agreements in the way normal humans do, but she'll come around to it.
Your main consolation in all of this is that because it isn't Nina's apartment, Mina can't invite anyone in, say Alex. So anyone who has to be invited in, you have to do the inviting in. So at least there's that.
Mm-hmm. It's something that is really nice when your great-great-granddad can't just invite strangers into your home where you sleep, where you rest, where you're vulnerable for 12 hours a day, give take. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's very liberating in a way that Vince hasn't had since he got turned.
Your apartment is kind of sparse, right? You haven't spent much time or energy in setting it up because it doesn't seem to matter. You have your extensive library. You have Karen's remains of her library that you brought with you. You have your surgical tools, though you haven't set up your surgery / death lab / murder basement yet.
I'm reconsidering the value in the basement surgery. Just, would it make things awkward with Marcus if I set one up? I'd have to ask first. For now, I think I'm getting by on thin ice, so I'm kind of just being... I'm watching myself, watching my back, and keeping a low profile, because that's kind of important right now.
Right. So Vince fills his nights mostly with, reading to Mina so that she doesn't sabotage him in very passive-aggressive, ghostly ways.
Yeah.
And also, besides sneaking into people's windows and feeding on them, helping to heal the infected vampires of San Francisco who are willing to venture into Marcus's territory. You went out once or twice in the last month to some who were just too far gone. A partner of theirs maybe came to get you, or something along those lines. They offered you sanctuary, but you were attacked both times. You're not sure by whom or which of the various vampires who want your head ordered said attacks. It's really hard to tell at this point. You just have pissed off so many people. But you've realized it's not really safe for you, especially with Robin and his husband both being sired by Mallet at this point. You don't really have any of those options open to you anymore. So you've confined your activities in the realm of healing to Marcus's territory. And tonight you actually have at least 2 appointments set up in a warehouse. You have instructed them to bring their own humans.
This is a condition I stick to. Yeah.
This is a condition, yes, because Mina has told you in no uncertain terms that you're not allowed to murder anymore.
Yep. She has made it very clear that it's a huge disappointment to her, that it would be a huge disappointment to Karen, even though I saw Karen's house at the end. But she's still right, and that's the part that's really sore. So, yeah, it's no more murder. Only just taking what I need.
So, Vince goes cautiously, probably, to the warehouse you have set up. It makes the non-independent vampires a little antsy coming into independent territory. Everyone has to go through Marcus's hierarchy first. Usually Jean sets up something. And you do have some watchers, let's say, some bodyguards around, thoughtfully provided to you by Jean, so that you can do your work without worries about one of your patients trying to rip your throat out. So it is a worry for you at this point.
It's a genuine concern. It's not. I mean, kind of wish my head had never stuck over the parapet, but...
Well, I mean, no one forced you into diablerie.
I was really mad. I was really mad at that guy. And I know that it doesn't make it okay, but, you know, and hey, I regret doing it now, but...
Now.
There was just certain things.
Mm-hmm. Well, you made your bed, or rather your coffin, and now you have to lie in it, as Mina would say. So you make your way to the warehouse. You nod at the 2 gangrel who are keeping an eye on things for you this evening. One of them follows you in. Young gangrel by the name of Aaron. Usually you have one who stands outside to watch the building, and one of them will come in with you into the surgery. And Aaron follows you in, and your patient this evening is a child. About 8 years old, with very wide, staring, dark eyes. You think you've seen this child before, Vince?
Oh, she looks disturbingly familiar. Like a certain vampire I saw in a whip's house.
Yes, and the small child is wearing a dark red dress and a denim jacket, and got her hair braided back, and she's looking up at you with eyes that are much older than she is. And she says, "It's about time you got here, Vince."
Vince just kind of stands in the the doorway to the room, and he's just like looks at Aaron, and he's like just kind of gives a squint that means this might not be good, and he just turns back. He's like, "So, genuine question, are you actually ill, or are you here to kill me or deliver a message, or?"
Well, I wouldn't kill you. Not on someone else's territory. That would be rude.
It would be very impolite, and I know you're...
I can't sleep. That's why I'm here.
And he looks around the room. Did she bring a human?
Yes, there is an unconscious human on the floor.
Just lets out a sigh. He's like, "I'll do what I can for you." And Vince will prepare a transfusion of his own blood to go into the human, and he's just explaining to her over his shoulder. He's like, "The funny thing is that are you still with Phoebe? Because she could actually cure you."
Mom?
Yeah. He's like, "I didn't realize you were related."
Yes. She couldn't live without me. It's very hard.
I believe it.
Being 8 for 400 years.
I believe it, yeah. Still, there must be some upside. I mean, he kind of is stopped. He's like, "I actually can't think of an upside to being 8 for 400 years. He's like, it must be very easy to hunt pedophiles."
That's how I got sick.
Oh. And he's just like, "Oh, that's real sad."
Mom doesn't like you.
Nope. No, she doesn't.
She doesn't know I'm here.
She doesn't know you're sick.
No, we're not allowed to get sick. She says it's weak.
And Vince thinks about some of the stuff that he read in the Van Ness journal, and he's just like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." Well, being sick isn't being weak. It is just an unfortunate happenstance. It just happens sometimes.
She just looks at you with these big wide eyes as you're working through the transfusion. She says, "Mom's going to kill you. She wants your skull."
I'm sorry, I didn't ask your name.
Lisa. Well, used to be Annalise, but now it's Lisa.
Which one do you prefer?
Annalise. No one calls me my real name anymore.
Well, Annalise, I will. But if your mother wants my skull, she's going to find there's a lot of competition.
I know.
Yeah, I suppose I've got a reputation now.
This scary man came to talk to her. He wants your skull too.
Vince just kind of like, oh boy, that's Mallet, right? Mr. Hammer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I called him that in front of you. You're much older than I am.
She shrugs. It just happens because I look so small.
Yeah, sorry, force of habit. You're actually my senior.
Yes. Don't worry. Being disarming is useful. And she looks you up and down. I don't think you can do that anymore, though.
And he just looks back at her with like flat eyes and a grey face. And it's just, no, I don't think I can. I used to get by on that. Still, I can be better. I can be who I was. I can get it back.
I don't know if you can. Your aura is weird. You ate somebody. I don't know if you can come back from that.
He like looks at her as the transfusion is finishing, and he just pinches off the line. He's like, it's looking like I can't, at least if I'm honest. But I'll do what I can in the meantime. I'll try my best to make up for it. Then that's all I can do.
And she looks at you, these big eyes, for just a moment. And I'd like you to give me a roll here.
Uh-oh.
Charisma and insight.
A single success, so.
Okay. With a single success, you're picking up on the idea that with what insight you have left into body language and so on, which you don't pick up much on anymore, she doesn't seem antagonistic. She just seems neutral to you. And she just kind of cocks her head and says, I don't think I'd want to eat you. You're like a steak somebody left out on the kitchen counter too long.
Oh boy, that hurts.
But you didn't have to be nice to me when Mom wants your head. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Give me a second. I'll clean this up, and then you just need to feed on her, and that will cure you. If you just need to be aware that if you get reinfected again, that I can't do anything for you. It's a one-time thing.
I'll take a break from hunting for a bit.
Take your time and check your prey for a little bit until we can get this stuff out of circulation.
Okay. And she looks up at you. She's very small. And she says, in this child's voice, she says, I will give you one warning. You don't know when it will come. I will warn you once. I owe you that. But that is all. And if you leave here, you might not get it. Do we understand?
I understand. Thank you, Miss Annalise.
She nods. It's a very strange adult kind of gesture from this 8-year-old looking child. But then she sniffs and her eyes turn red and she pounces on this poor human that you've done the transfusion on, and you just hear almost a feral sort of sound as she starts tearing into this human's throat as the smell of blood gets to be a bit too much for her.
Yeah, at that point, Vince is going to leave the room because I can't be around people that are full feeding anymore.
It's not good for you, no.
No.
So we'll leave Vince for the moment as he's getting ready for his next patient. And so, Marcus, your guests have arrived.
Fantastic. Yeah, lead them in and show them to the conference room.
Okay. So how many people did you invite?
Just 3 or 4. I mean, really, it should just be, honestly, like a couple of foremen who'll be able to direct or union leads, and then likely a associated business of plumbers and pipe fitters who use union labor to be able to talk to one of their project managers about it.
Okay, so you have 4 visitors here, and you've got 2 men, a younger looking woman carries herself very assuredly, and another person of indeterminate gender. And they all come in, just get right down to business. They're not used to sitting around and chit-chatting. They're just at it.
Yeah. It doesn't cost me a thing, so I'll turn on awe to be able to leverage presence in the meeting.
Absolutely.
And get right down to business with them and just say that what I'm looking to do is deal with an issue that many of the local unions have had for several years now with a business in the downtown core area, one that does not use union labor, one that has refused on multiple occasions to treat workers correctly. And what we are going to do is show them that when a building does not have the proper union labor or the proper construction materials, what happens? I give them a smile.
The lead in the group, South American man by the name Carlos Fernandez, smiles. He flashes his teeth. He's got a very cheerful, good sense of humor about him, but this kind of smile is just more a bit malicious, let's say.
Sure.
This sounds fun.
Realistically, it is a couple phases. So what we want to do is get service into some of their on-site wet sprinkler tanks. And in that, we're going to be adding a product to it. And so this product will assist us at a later time. But that can't happen until they have, we'll just say, an unfortunate incident. And that incident is going to be a sewage backup on a rather grand scale.
All 4 of them smile in unison.
I'm certain that the people here at this table understand what I'm looking for. And I'll just move the paper coverings over to reveal the building in question and say, this is where I'm looking for it, and this is roughly when I'd like it to happen. And I'd like to make sure that it's fairly unstoppable, at least for an hour or so. That should give me more than enough time to finish the rest of this. And then, when the cleanup crew comes in, they'll add the additive to the wet tanks. After that, it's business as usual. And the building will probably close for, I would imagine, a few days. Just for cleanup. Given that it'll be it'll have a pretty strong scent.
Gabriel, the elfish-looking worker, pulls the papers over and they look at it. And there's a wide smile that spreads across their face. Oh, that asshole.
Yes, that one in particular. So just so you're aware of where this is kind of coming from, people within that building and businesses have been running this crypto market pretty hot. And these are the same assholes that are keeping housing blisteringly hot around here. So regular people like you and the rest of our union brothers and sisters can't possibly afford rent.
Carlos just kind of snorts and says, Hijo de puta. Crypto motherfucking bros.
I just need to shut their building down for a couple of days. If it goes longer than that, fine. But I want to create enough of a stink that they'll have to call in the proper cleanup crew. Otherwise, the building would have to be abandoned. Either way, I get what I want.
We've had discussions about people like this, and he taps the building. We almost got evicted last month, me and my wife, because of people like that. So, we're in.
Good.
And there won't be any timeline problems.
Exactly what I wanted to hear. If you and your wife do have an issue as far as that goes, let the union hall here know. We'll take care of you.
You got it. And all four of them start talking to each other in very rapid Spanish. All right. And they all shake hands with you, or offer to shake hands. I don't know if you...
Absolutely.
They look brighter. They look more like they have some good work to do.
Wonderful. It's all about giving people a purpose, especially in this regard. After I close up the shop with them in the meeting, I make sure that nothing is left out. Wouldn't want anything like that to get into the open. Not that there are any notes, which is nice. And then after that, I'm heading back to my haven.
All right. So you clean up. Polly waves at you from her desk. She's going to be just running the night shift for the rest of the evening. And she's surrounded by stacks and stacks of folders. You would imagine Gloria has her going through some of the backlog. So,
undoubtedly.
So while this has been happening with Marcus, Katerina, you've had some work to do. Have you left the Haven? Are you conducting your business from the space Marcus has given you? What are you doing to work on your business tonight?
Chances are that unless meeting in person, I would have been making all of my meetings from phone. From, I imagine, a landline that's in my office, because God knows that I don't know how to initiate a group call on a cell phone.
Not on your T9 Nokia, definitely not.
No. So, yeah, I imagine that since right now there hasn't been really a need to go in to like the actual space, and it's more coordinating with the initial crew, for lack of a better term, that would be done over the phone for sure.
So you make your calls. Marcus has given you a pretty decent sized space, right? You know it's being combined with the clinic that Vince is supposedly going to run, although having seen Vince recently, you're not so sure about how much he's going to be doing. But you've seen the space, you've walked around it, you know more or less what you can set up. And so you're able to make these calls and get all of the equipment that you need ordered. Your very specific decor tastes are going to come into play here. You have a very, very specific vision of how you want things to look. But you managed to get all of those calls taken care of. It's not hard to do, especially with the contacts that Marcus has and the ones that you had from your previous life. But it's been a fairly busy evening for you already.
Okay, well, I've been adjusting to not working like all the time. And I've been especially taking the big piece of Ray Ray's advice of learning how to relax. This has not been an easy feat, that's for sure.
What is Katerina's idea of relaxing exactly?
There's usually a book involved. She's been catching up on what a lot of libraries have recommended as like some of the greatest novels of all time, right? In the last 40 years.
And how is that going?
It goes fine, provided that she doesn't have any distractions.
So Katerina spends some time reading, and you've done your business for the night. You can't actually do any setup until your equipment is delivered. And Marcus has been out doing business. You get through about 3/4 of your book, and you hear the unmistakable sound of those very heavy doors downstairs opening, and you can assume Marcus has returned.
Really, at that point, the book is going down, and of course, the way that I was raised at decorum, is that I go and greet Marcus.
All right, so Marcus, all the doors get unlocked and slid open, and that big safe style door that you have just creaks open, and you hear Katerina's footsteps on the stairs as you enter through that very, very heavy door.
All right.
Welcome home, Marcus.
Thank you. Has our guest arrived yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm going to go and get changed really quick. Just different coat.
So Marcus goes to get changed. Is Katerina going to be part of the meeting, or is this something Marcus is going to do alone?
I don't think that he would have any issue with anyone else being there, right? So I would ideally like Jean there. It's kind of her role in this.
Mm-hmm. Jean is already in the main room. She just sort of waves at you as you go past Marcus and Katerina. She's working on some paperwork. She's a lot more alert and a lot brighter than she was during the events of the Blood Moon, and she actually seems very fulfilled so far in her work with you. She's enjoying it.
Well, I mean, let's be real. She was like a strung out addict when we last really saw her, from all the issues that she was having with the dreaming. She held on way longer than a ton of other people did before she got cured. So I'm certain that she feels better now.
Much better. So we'll let Marcus and Katerina get ready for the meeting, and we'll have a look in on the soon-to-be meeting attendee. So, Bridget, it is evening. It's a cold night, and you've woken up in bed with Chase, as usual. And he leans over and he kisses your forehead, and he says, "Big night for you, my dear."
She's going to roll underneath him and wrap her knees around his waist and her arms around her neck, and she's almost holding on to him with that sense of not desperation, but almost this is the last stop before something big can happen. And she just says, "I'm actually scared."
Don't be scared. There's so much going on in this world to be scared of. A meeting with Marcus Voss is not something to be scared of, unless you've done something to piss him off and haven't told me about it, in which case you should be very scared. And he flashes those very white teeth at you.
She smiles, and she's going to just nuzzle him, especially where she can get eye to eye with him. And she says, "No, nothing like that. It's just, if this doesn't work out for us, where are we going to go? We have been turned out and ushered away and uninvited from so many different territories. This was a good fit. And I just don't know. If this doesn't work out, what happens next?"
He sighs and he rolls over slightly so his back is on the bed and his head's resting on the pillow, and his hand starts playing with your hair and just sort of gently calming you. And he says, "Well, I don't know, honestly. This is home at this point. Prince Velasquez was good to us. Very good. Much more so than most princes, and I don't trust Mallet. Not as far as I can throw him, which is not far at all." And he laughs, a sort of deep, booming laugh that always makes you light up a little inside. It's so reassuring. "And I think we'd have to go somewhere and be alone. Perhaps somewhere without the Tremere around. For certain. But I've heard Alaska's nice." And he chuckles.
All three eyes roll at that point. She's not going to, well, if he goes to Alaska, she'll go wherever the hell he goes. But the face is like, you know what? And on that note, I'm getting up and getting in the shower.
He laughs. And you can hear him as you're taking a shower. He's getting dressed in those nice, neat suits that he always wears, especially when he's going out on business. Pokes his head into the bathroom and he says, "I've got my meeting with Gangrel tonight, so I've got to go, but don't worry, you'll be fine."
She nods as she's poking her head out of the shower. "Good luck." And then she'll say to him in Chamaroo, "I love you."
He says it back, and he just sort of pats her on the shoulder and turns around, puts a little pocket square in his suit coat, and exits the apartment as you finish your shower and get ready. So how are you getting down to the Port of San Francisco district. How are you? Are you walking? Are you taking the trolley? Are you taking an Uber? And how are you covering your third eye tonight?
In order, Daddy is rich, so she's probably going to be driving this year's new Audi lease down to that area, is what she's probably going to be doing. She is going to dress for the weather, as I say in air quotations, which is going to be like, boots, tight leggings, and like one of those oversized knit-looking sweaters that goes down to her, like right past her knees. She is so nervous about this meeting, but she knows that she's meeting other kindred. So this is not going to be one of the ones where she goes through the entire effort to put the silicone patch on her forehead and blend it in. This is going to be one where it's just like the large headband that fits over the top of her forehead, cutting off her eyebrows around the back of her ears, because she's going to have to pull it off as soon as she gets in front of kindred company.
All right. So you take the proper precautions to hide your third eye. It's perhaps the most inconvenient part of your life, or unlife rather. Other vampires don't have to deal with this, and you've complained to Chase about it a few times. Why couldn't it just fold in to my forehead when I'm not using it or something? And he just said that's not how the bloodline works, which is not a very useful answer for you.
It is not.
It really doesn't help.
But she has a long list of complaints about just vampire society in general, and vampire lore, and Tremere and Tremere and Tremere. And then also just, their social standing in this entire situation. So the not being able to conceal the third eye is one of her irritants, but it's like number 12 on the list.
Right after Tremere, 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 Tremere.
Tremere, Tremere, Tremere. It's some bullshit. Tremere, Tremere, Tremere. Covering the eye. Tremere, Tremere, Tremere. Yeah.
You drive your car down to the address you were given, and there's this low building. It's got trees in front of it. You can't see any signs or anything. And a very muscular, short woman who looks to be filled with rage and energy comes out of the door, and she taps on the window.
She will roll the window down and kind of lean forward. Am I not allowed to park here?
ID.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And she's going to intentionally drag this out because that's a lot of energy right now. She's just going to play with it enough to see if she can just curb the top of it down. So she's going to take a second to pull out her little backpack and start going. She's like, so how's your night going?
Cold.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have hand warmers in the trunk. Would you like a couple?
No.
Okay. And she'll keep flipping, and she'll hand over the ID.
And the woman looks at it. She pulls out a piece of paper. You're late.
And she smiles. Sorry.
Stay. And she literally does the finger motion. Stay. And she marches back towards the door where behind a tree. You can't hear her from here. You just see her pull a phone out of her pocket. And so, Marcus, back at your haven, as you're getting ready, your phone rings from Esmeralda.
Yes.
She's here. Finally.
Don't send her in. Don't make her wait.
Made me wait. Esmeralda's as cranky as ever. So Esmeralda hangs up and marches back to the car and says, okay, you can come in.
Thank you. And she'll, pop out of the car, close it, lock it. And as she's walking up to her, whatever color she's wearing, if Monica agrees with the moment, it's like, that color actually looks really good on you.
Esmeralda's wearing dark green and khaki.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, actually, that color pattern looks really good on you.
Thanks, I guess. Esmeralda looks slightly nonplussed, but then she just says, that way. And she actually follows behind you. She doesn't lead you. It's like she doesn't want anything at her back. And she's following you up to the door.
She'll continue doing the awkward backward glances over her shoulder at this, because this is a lot. This is more than what she was expecting, and she had expected a lot. So just backward glances over her shoulder, but she's continuing forward.
You keep glancing at this 5'1" ball of rage and fury contained in one small body. And She's marching almost military style as she follows up behind you. And when you get up to the door, she just raps on the door really quickly. And there's a sliding of a lot of locks. The door opens and there's a very big, towering man, very burly arms, looking down. He looks at Esmeralda. She looks at him and nods, and he just nods back. And they don't talk much, these people. And he leads you in and then closes the door.
There has to be just a hard pause there where she's thinking, never mind, I'm going back home. This is some bullshit. This is not what I signed up for. Chase did not inform me that it was this form of security. Literally that door opens and they look at each other and she just stands there I'm going to go back to my car. I'm going to go back to my car. I'm going to go back to my car.
You have that thought and you turn slightly just to see the door is already being locked. Lock, sliding in all these complicated locks. And Esmeralda starts marching down the hallway. Says, keep up.
And she'll roll out her neck, roll out her shoulders, and then she'll go to keep up.
So you're led through several more doors, including a very large circular metal door that looks like the giant entrance to a giant safe.
And she's thinking to herself, shit, Esme didn't even have this type of security. What the hell is going on? I know times have changed. I know vampires were exploding. I know there was a pandemic and there was a lot of things happening. And I understand that rumor mill anyways, is that Marcus made this big speech and shit on everybody over at Elysium. But this is she's if the door weren't locked behind her, she would leave right goddamn now. But she's going to continue forward. She's already on the path.
So Esmeralda points into a room off to the side. It's a pretty big room. It's really tastefully decorated. There's couches and tables, and it looks like there's a bar off to one side. There's posters on the wall. They look like labor posters, calls to strike and things of that nature. And there's a tall, thin woman standing in the middle of the room. She's got short, spiky, dark hair. She's wearing a dark tailored blazer and jeans and a Metallica t-shirt. And she's got very, very piercing blue eyes. And she looks at you and she smiles slightly. And she says, you must be Monica.
Yes.
I'm Jean. I'm the voice, so to speak. So I will be assisting in your meeting.
Okay.
And you recognize the name. Jean Valentine used to be the seneschal for Prince Velasquez. You never met her in person, but you know the name. Everybody knew the name.
Okay.
So she's with Baron Voss now, apparently. And she gestures over to a table and says, please have a seat.
Oh, thank you, Miss Valentine, but I am far too intimidated and shaken up right now to sit. I'll stand. Thank you, though.
Intimidated? By what?
Really?
Oh, you mean Esmeralda?
Oh, yeah. And then the big guy that came after her and the vault and what the hell is happening? Sorry. Apologies. I'm sorry. I'll stand. Thank you.
She smiles slightly and says, yes, our dear former sheriff could be very intimidating. I'm aware of her effect on young ones. She chuckles under her breath slightly.
Oh, she wants to correct her, but she's not going to do it.
You have nothing to worry about, I assure you. This is all merely for our protection and yours. And she says, well, stand, sit, whatever you like. I'll be right back. And she goes to another door, closes it behind her.
Whew. We're going to be homeless before the end of this meeting. We're going to be homeless. 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 We're going to be homeless.
Jean pokes her head into your office, Marcus, and says, in the meeting room.
Excellent. I stand up.
She's nervous. Very fidgety. I think Esmeralda scared her.
It's par for the course.
Well, having Esmeralda around does help weed out some of the less desirable elements.
Yeah, she puts the B in Bruja, though.
She does. And Jean actually laughs, like this very crystal kind of laugh. It's very entertaining, though.
Wonderful. I walk back out towards the door.
And Katerina Jean pokes her head into your office and says, are you coming to the meeting, Miss Bogdanovich?
Yes, I will be down shortly.
All right. And she follows you down the stairs, Marcus.
Yeah, so once we get into the main room, I'm wearing a longer black coat than the normal, I guess the fan-approved art jacket would show me to wear. It's probably 3/4 length. It's a little bit more, maybe businessy is the right word for it. But other than that, it's a pretty simple black t-shirt with, I guess, work pants and boots. I'm stylish enough, but I don't pay attention enough to it, and that probably comes across at least a little bit. I seem to be still working. There's a working mentality to how he is dressed. He strides over to you fairly directly, and he has a very broad smile. And there is likely a presence that comes off of him, which is very welcoming.
Baron Voss?
Marcus is fine.
Good evening. Monica. But I'm sure you knew that, and she'll extend out a hand.
Oh, yeah. I take a half step closer, and I take her hand. And I give you a firm but not too firm handshake and smile.
She returns it, but it's very obvious that she's overcompensating for it. So she's returning the firm handshake with an even firmer handshake. And she's trying to maintain eye contact, but
Sure.
Everything about her is like she's getting ready to wrap it.
Okay.
And that's probably when I'll come into the room.
Miss Bogdanovich, you're okay.
Yes.
She's actually better than okay, but yes. Have a seat.
Thank you. I'll stand, but thank you. And she's just looking at you, Katerina, just because from her perspective, the bakery shut down. She wasn't able to place orders. No one had heard from you. So she had kind of reconciled it like with herself that like literally San Francisco's best kindred baker, best baker period, had been one of the kindred that had passed, that had died. So she's like genuinely shocked, but like relieved to see that you're okay.
So, it's good to meet you.
She smiles politely, but she doesn't have a response to that.
It was nice to talk to Chase when he stopped by. I appreciate that.
He spoke very highly of you, and he's a hard man to impress.
Well, I'm flattered. It's important, especially for the kindred of San Francisco, to be able to meet and talk openly, especially when our time here is so critical. But he said that you would come by, and that has happened. I smile.
Yes, apparently I am late, according to the security outside of your Fort Knox.
Well, don't let Esmeralda bother you. She's all about timeliness, which is a little odd for us, Bruja. She's the sort of kindred that needs something to work on. And so when she works on it, she can work on it a little too diligently sometimes. We call it hyper-focusing. And so she hyper-focuses on when people are supposed to be certain places. And then when they're not, she gets a little agitated. I'll have a talk with her.
And she just gives you, again, that just very polite smile.
And then as far as the Fort Knox comment, it is true that when we took over the space here, we made some changes to the overall security. We did so for very good reasons. And that's mostly because the bastard usurper who's come from the White Tower, who's decided to attempt to ruin San Francisco, would like nothing more than to have me dead. And so, yes, I took precautions. It would be silly not to.
Again, standing there, parade rest, polite smile. It's almost like, okay, I hear you. You're talking to me. I received the words. Just don't know what you want from me in this exact moment. So she's just going to maintain her position and just smile.
So, Monica, can you tell me what you want? What you're interested in? What you like to do?
Oh, we're doing small talk?
I don't think what you're interested in or what you like to do is small. It's probably pretty important.
Just not what I was expecting. My favorite color is pink.
Fantastic. I guess maybe let me back up then. What were you expecting?
I didn't know what to expect. The conversations that I've had with other kindred in the city, most seem to speak highly of you. So I wasn't necessarily afraid of you, but the entire welcome was very off-putting, Baron Voss. I just have to admit that. She almost broke my windshield just trying, or my side glass, just tapping on it. And then everything from here to there is just, it's been very overwhelming.
Okay.
And there's a lot resting on this meeting that I don't know if I've done this to myself as far as expectations or whether it's actual fact. But as far as what I want, it's very simple, Baron Voss. I and my sire would like to remain here in San Francisco.
Okay. That seems reasonable to me.
It must be a privilege to be able to say that so casually.
Perhaps it is.
It is.
So what prevents you from staying here? Or what are your, beyond the pieces on the table, which are already known?
It's a pretty big piece on the table, Baron Voss, and she'll, reach her middle finger under that headband and finally pull it off where she's exposing a third eye. There are very, very few places that will show us welcome.
Yeah, I probably look genuinely shocked a little bit, and I would just say I've outside of your sire, I've not met your clan, and I know very little about the Salubri in general. Although I do understand that there are some others who might choose to look at your clan in a very specific way. I would just say to you and to your sire that I don't allow such perspectives within the domain as I can control them. And I gesture to Jean. There are many within Camarilla and Kindred Society who would dub the La Sombra traitors per the Thorn of Conventions in the 1400s. I don't care. Jean is a good person, and she works very hard. And so whatever her bloodline may have done to another sect is not my concern. I judge the person, not the clan.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I would be happy for you to stay within the port area if that is what you and Chase wish. Unlike other areas that are controlled by Kindred, unlike the Camarilla controlled one by the Prince Regent, I don't require any tithe. There is no bowing and scraping. You must understand, the title Baron is given, not taken. I didn't tell anyone to call me Baron. They're calling me it. I'd much prefer if the people we get to know, the kindred of this area, would call me Marcus. I'm not interested in ruling anyone. I need to make that very clear, because the future I see for San Francisco is a level playing field for everyone. It's why someone like William Mallet must go at all haste. And that is the commitment that I made to your sire, to deal with him. And that is a commitment I am prepared to uphold. And you probably see there's something inside Marcus that begins to get riled. Like he begins to get, probably doesn't have to breathe to get riled up, but you can tell that he's getting very energized.
In response to that, it's instinctual at this point, especially with the survival instincts and measures that she has in place. She just takes a step back. It's not jarring, it's not a jump back, but it's a very allowing space for that energy. She just takes a step back.
Well, and I'll grab onto Marcus's wrist. I know what that energy looks like, and it's to pull him back a little, remind him that passion is fine, but she's already jumpy as fuck.
I think the best we can all do is work together toward a common goal. And the San Francisco I envision, if we can get there, is one where the kindred here are allowed to exist without sect. That's the ultimate goal. I have no use for the Camarilla, and they're, quite frankly, they're baked in slavery. It is a sect which, at its core, has always been built on apartheid.
She kind of muses and chews that line over for a moment. And she says, a kindred society without sex. You think that's achievable? You think that's achievable here in San Francisco? And that's not smarmy, it's not sarcastic, it's a pure wonderment, curiosity, that energy that's coming off of her.
I think that it was done once before, and I think it was done for hundreds of years, and I think for the lore that I have read, the books, the talks I had with my own sire before he left, I think it is possible again. It was only ripped apart for a few reasons. reasons which can be prevented. There is a way, there is a path. The question will be are the Kindred of San Francisco willing to walk that path with me? Or will they continue to live in their own social filth? The fighting, that's what it is.
It's interesting, Baron Voss, because from my perspective, I think the real question is, do you have what it takes to lead them into this new vision of yours? You'll eventually have to cull. That's inevitable. Changes will have to be made. Lore will be rewritten. Society will be remolded into whatever this vision it is that you have. And you can see she's finally more relaxed. The shoulders are coming down. She's able to make eye contact with you, and her confrontational personality is starting to come out. It's slow, but she's working her way back out. She realizes this isn't not only a death trap, but she's more or less safe. She says that's quite a vision that you have. It'll take a lot to see that into fruition.
Well, luckily, minus our natural or unnatural enemies, we have an awful lot of time. That is one thing that this existence gives us. And it isn't simply one person that leads this. In fact, starting with just one person leading it is what will cause it to fail. It must be he sort of taps at the air, a gestalt, a group mind, an understanding between many, and an understanding that a single person leading it, much as the Prince Regent is attempting to lead the vestiges of the Camarilla, is ultimately doomed to fail, because one person cannot do this alone.
Okay. We'll see how you do. And she smiles.
I smirk. Indeed we will. So, can I interest you in refreshments, or...
No, I'm picky about my food, and that was before the pandemic. But thank you.
Of course. Of course. So, again, if there's anything that I or the port can offer, please let me know.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your transparency.
Certainly.
And she's going to take another step back. She hasn't been dismissed, but that is what she wants right now. So there's like the left foot back, right foot back. She's going to look down at Miss Bogdanovich and give her a polite smile.
I turn to Katerina and say, would you walk Monica out?
Yes.
And if you would, send me Esmeralda.
Happily.
She's biting her bottom lips because she really wants to turn around and say something to that. But like, nope, let's leave.
And I will gesture with my arm outstretched to the door. Shall we go?
Please, I'd appreciate that. Marcus, thank you.
Certainly. We look forward to seeing more of you.
And we're going to slide right on out of this conversation.
So, Katerina, you take Monica out. You've met Monica a couple times. She's placed some orders through your bakery in the before times. So, you were never friends, but you knew each other. So, you can walk her out and keep her away from Esmeralda.
I am surprised that for a fairly infrequent customer that you were so relieved, but I am flattered, so I thank you.
I think you underestimate the power of your presence, Miss Bogdanovich.
Well, that may be true, but this meeting is a very good first step, yeah?
I believe so. And at this point, she's taking that huge scarf up over her chin, her nose, and getting it placed back on her forehead appropriately. You can see that third eye kind of roll itself in annoyance as the scarf goes up over it. I think so.
So may I speak frankly before we reach Esmeralda?
And she'll stop. Please.
And of course, I'm fucking tiny, so I'm looking up at you. Marcus is a good man, and he is attempting something that is very ambitious. I have great faith in what he is looking forward to be the future of San Francisco. And I think that you would benefit very well in this territory and to give him your support.
Thank you for that. May I be transparent in return?
Of course. I would expect nothing less.
Ambition is dangerous. It accompanies hope, and it brings with it change. And combined, if successful, those things can be beautiful and wonderful. And I appreciate what the Baron is trying to accomplish. But if he fails, and she can't finish the rest of that sentence,
then we are all doomed, yeah? I understand.
yes, some more than others. And you can notice that in like the dark, multicolored like headscarf she's wearing, that it's starting to like discolor just a bit. So that third eye is probably seeping. It took us a long time to find a home here, Miss Bogdanovich.
Without Marcus, I would not have a home. And with that, I will turn around and continue walking.
She's going to sniff, wipe the back of her nose, and then she is going to head down the hallway and do her best not to make eye contact with Esmeralda if Esmeralda comes her direction.
Esmeralda opens the door crankily.
We will see you soon, I hope, Miss Monica. Have a good evening.
You too, Miss Bogdanovich. Thank you. And then she will leave.
And because I like to poke the bear from time to time, especially when it makes me feel good, Marcus wants to see you.
Esmeralda growls and storms off down the hallway. And that is where we will leave this episode. Thank you all for joining us for this first night in the Shards of San Francisco. We hope you will join us again next time. Thank you and good night.